Shalom Akim, Shalom Akwathiam. Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kradash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. On the screen it reads, I saw them in hell. She saw Biggie in hell, saw heaven, and God gave her a chilling word. I came across this interview here a day or so ago, and I'm going to play a portion of this here, all right? And I want to say this while it's on the forefront of my mind to say, after your spirit leaves your body, after you die, there is not a place you go to burn for all eternity, even if you were wicked, all right? The scriptures tells us the righteous and the dead are at rest, okay? Now, we're going to delve into some words, Sheol, Hades, and Gehenna, because the scriptures tells us to prove all things and hold fast to that which is good, all right? When you come across interviews of this sort, these people are simply liars, all right? They're looking for some elaborate explanation or sensationalism and so forth. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 15 tells us the simple believe everything. At this juncture, if you believe in hell, it's because simply the Lord has blinded you to the truth, all right? In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 11, it just roughly paraphrasing, it tells us, and for this cause, because they chose not to receive the truth, the Lord has sent upon them a strong delusion so that they may believe a lie. These people are liars, all right? Now, we all know who Biggie Smalls is, Junior Mafia, P. Diddy, Tupac, all these niggas. We know who these people are, right? And even though they were wicked, they are at rest. I also want to tie into this particular lesson, this story here of this young Jake that was fleeing the police and he crashed essentially, and his car burst into flames. And it's all over the internet. He burned basically alive. Even him. These people are at rest. Your spirit goes back to the spiritual world and it rests. Okay? Now, before I get into, some definition and some words, I want to play back a portion of what she had to say. And of course, YouTube, I want to utilize this short under the Fair Use Act again. Fair use. Let me rewind this back, Hakim. Bear with me 1 second.
Vision, I was physically out of my body. What were some other things that you saw that you remember? I saw Biggie in hell. Yeah. I used to love Biggie Small. He used to have this song called Give Me One More Chance, and I used to love the extended remix. Oh, I used to be in the club, boy. That was my jam.
All right, let's come from here, and let's go directly to look up some words. Specifically, we're going to deal with Sheol, Hades, and Gehenna. As the scriptures tells us in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 21, to produce our cause and bring forth our strong reasoning. Now, before we delve into those words, you must comprehend that words translated from Hebrew to Greek and or Latin, they don't have the same meaning. Furthermore, they don't have the same force. And how do we know this to be true? Well, it's outlined in the prologue in the book of Sirach. Now, it tells us this in the AI overview. The statement, but the things that are written in Hebrew have not the same force, refers to the idea that the impact or meaning of a text, particularly religious text, can be altered or diminished when translated from Hebrew into another language. Now, let's go directly to that scripture that I'm referring to, right? Let's go here. As a matter of fact, bear with me 1 second, Baba Kushab, because I want to get right to the point. And this is the book of Sirach, which found in the book of the Apocrypha, which was removed from the Bible. Bear with me 1 second, Baba Kushan. Here we are in the book of Sirach, chapter 53, verse 6, and it reads, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. Not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken, in their own language. So meaning you have to go back to the original language, all right, which is the Paleo-Hebrew, and that's the pure language, okay? Now, we're going to delve into these words here, but I got to make sure I point this out. It states here, the term hell in many English Bible translations is indeed a simplification that can be misleading. The other Hebrew and Greek words used in the Bible for the afterlife, like Sheol and Hades, refer more broadly to the grave, the abode of the dead, or a place of silence and inactivity. That's exactly what is outlined in Job, the 3rd chapter, around about the 12th verse on down, which we're going to get momentarily. All right? If you're a believer in hell, how do you get around Job, the 3rd chapter? How do you get around 1 Samuel chapter 28? All right. And we're going to get those accounts, but I want to build up to that. Okay. Continuing on, the concept of a fiery eternal hell of torment as a place of punishment for the wicked is a later development influenced by Greek philosophy and the mythology, and is not a direct translation of the original biblical text. Beautiful, beautiful. Continuing on, it reads, here's a more detailed explanation. Let's start with the first word in the Hebrew, Sheol. And it reads here, in the Old Testament, Sheol is the general term for the realm of the dead, a place where all the departed go, regardless of their righteousness or their wickedness. It's not a place of active punishment, but rather a shadowy, inactive existence. You see that? And let me come from here. Let me grab a quick scripture here. Because is there a scripture proving that point? Absolutely. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 20. And it reads, all the righteous and the wicked go unto one place. All are of the dust, and all turn to the dust again. You see, when judgment is passed down from the heavens, when our spirit is required of us, and the Lord sanctions that we should die, have a way He sees fit. Our physical body is buried and it gets put back into the ground, and our spirit goes directly before Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Continuing on, and let's deal with Hades in the Greek. Let me say this too as well. This is why you always have to go back to the Hebrew, because it's the pure language, the pure tongue, to get the best understanding of what's being actually said there. Because to put it in layman's terms, things get lost in translations, as we saw in the prologue from the Apocrypha. Now, the Greek word Hades in the New Testament, Hades is the Greek equivalent of Sheol, also representing the realm of the dead. While some passages use Hades in ways that suggest a more active or even painful experience for some, it's not consistently portrayed as a place of eternal torment. You see that? Remember what's written in the book of Sirach, the prologue. Words translated from Hebrew to Latin to Greek to English, so on and so forth, they lose their power. They don't have the same meaning. Neither do they have the same force. This is why you have to always go back to the Hebrew meaning of words. Let's continue on with Gehenna, and we'll get right back into the scriptures. Gehenna in the Greek reads, the Greek word for Gehenna, which is also what is sometimes translated as hell, actually refers to what? The valley of Hinnom, a physical location outside Jerusalem used as a garbage dump and place of burning. In Yahushai's teaching, Gehenna is used as a symbol of destruction and judgment, but not necessarily as a place of eternal torment for all the wicked. Now let's come out of this here, okay? Because for those of us in this truth, we know and we comprehend that the place of judgment is here on the earth, all right? The power that we serve, when He passed the edict or the verdict down that a person has to die, or they must die, or they get sick, they ill, or whatever the case may be, we know it comes from the heavens and is played out here on the earth, okay? Even the earth, okay? This place is hell for the Israelites, all right? Esau, Edom, he's in his heaven right now, all right? Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 39, it reads this, because I wanted to bring out this point. See now that I, even I am He, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So when the Lord passed the judgment that a person shall die, it's played out here on the earth. And how do we know? This place is hell in real time. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16 through 17. And moreover, I saw under the sun. Where's the place under the sun? Here on the earth. The place of judgment. That wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness. That the iniquity was there. And I said in my heart, the Most High shall judge the righteous and the wicked. For there is a time for every purpose and for every work. All right? That's why the scriptures tell us it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of a living power. Let's go to the book of Matthew. Because if you believe in hell, I have a question. My question, first let me read this precept here. This is Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Right? If you believe in a burning lake of fire where people go after they die, my question is this. Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. And fear not them which can kill the body. Yes, on this side of life, a man could put you to death, but the scriptures tells us who to fear, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear Him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Now, where's the only place that your soul and your body is together? That's here on the earth underneath the sun, right? Because remember, when you die, your body goes back to the ground and your spirit goes back to the heavenly realms. You're going back to the heavens, all right? You're back in the spiritual world. And when your spirit comes out of your body, you're likened unto the angels, and the angels are likened unto fire, okay? All right? Let me come back out of this here. Let me go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 6 and 7, further proving the point, all right? But I'm going to read verse 6 as well. Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 6 and 7, it reads, or even the silver cord be loose, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel be broken at the cistern. Here's the point. Then shall the dust return unto the earth as it was. That dust is referring to our body, all right? And the spirit shall return to the Most High who gave it. You see, this is why we should be seeking Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai right now, in the days of our youth, in the days of our vigor, all right? Because when you die, your spirit, your body goes to the ground, and your spirit goes back to the heavenly realm. It goes back to the one that gave it. And even the Apostle Paul knew this in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8. We are confident, I say, and willing, rather to be absent from this body is to be what? To be present with the Lord. You're back in the spiritual realm. We don't go to an eternal burning lake of fire. Let's come from here and let's get Job, our forefathers' account, because even Job understood that the righteous and the wicked, when they die, they transition from the earthly realm to the spiritual realm. They are at rest, all right? And how do we know for sure? Job chapter 3, verse 12 through 17. Verse 17 is the point. But all of this is a beautiful read. And I'll start at verse 12 and read on down. And we all know the trials and the tests that Job experienced. All right, listen to what Job had to say. This is the New Living Translation. Why was I laid on my mother's lap? And why did she nurse me at her breast? Had I died at birth, I would be at peace. I would be asleep and what? At rest. I would rest with the world's kings and prime ministers, whose great buildings now lie in ruins. I would rest with the princes, rich in gold, whose palaces were filled with silver. Why wasn't I buried like a stillborn, like a baby who never lived to see the light? Here's the point in verse 17. For in death the wicked cause no trouble, and the weary are at rest. Clear cut, right to the point. Let me get one more account. And you can read this account in 1 Samuel, the 28th chapter. All of that is a good read as well. Further proving, further substantiating that the dead, even if they're wicked, when they die, they go back to the spiritual realm and they are back at rest, okay? There is not a place of eternal hellfire where you go and you burn forever, all right? Now, as a bit of a backdrop, this is when Saul summoned, by way of a medium, Samuel. He summoned his spirit up, all right? Now, if you remember, Saul was a wicked king, and Samuel, he was righteous. Now, listen to what occurred when Saul summoned Samuel back from the spiritual realm, all right, by way of a medium, all right? And it reads this in 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 15 through 19. Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up from where? The spiritual realm, all right? It reads, I am in great distress, Saul said. The Philistines are fighting against me, and the Most High has departed from me. If you can remember this account, remember this, the power that we serve. He took the righteous spirit off of Saul and put an evil, wicked spirit on him. Continuing on, and God has departed from me, and he no longer answers me, either by the prophets or by dreams. So I have called you to tell me what to do. Listen to what Samuel said. Samuel was righteous, right? And Saul was wicked, okay? Now it reads this in verse 16. Samuel said, why do you consult me now that the Lord has departed from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done what he predicted through me. The Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hands and given it to one of your neighbors, to David, because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his fierce wrath against the Amalekites. And that's why we have Amalekites in our land even unto this day. But continuing on to get to verse 19, because 19 is the point. The Lord has done this to you today. The Lord will deliver both Israel and you into the hands of the Philistines. And tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. Where was Samuel? Samuel was back in the spiritual realm at rest. Okay? If there was a burning hell, then Saul, he would have told Saul, Saul, you are going to burn in hell. You're going to be in the lake of fire, in a place of torment. I'm going to read that again. The Lord will deliver both Israel and you into the hands of the Philistines. And tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into their hands. And I'm going to add this one last point too as well. And you can dig more into this in your own time. And here's another one. In the AI overview, the concept of hell as a place of eternal torment is not a direct translation of any single Hebrew word in the Old Testament. Hell is a fable, man. All right? When we die and our spirit leaves our body, we're going to go back to the spiritual realm, whether you were righteous or whether you were wicked. Your soul is going to be at rest. And I hope through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, that this lesson is edifying. Shalom.